When you think of an island, what comes to mind? Probably paradise, right? The ultimate escape from all the noise, all the problems of the mainland. But what if that very thing we're looking for, that total isolation, turns into something awful? Something terrifying? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Three true stories where the dream of an island getaway turned into an absolute nightmare. So, why is that? What is it about a little patch of land surrounded by water that makes for such a perfect horror movie setting? The answer is brutally simple, really. There's nowhere to run. When things go bad on an island, you are well and truly stuck. Your perfect sanctuary, it just became your prison. And this slide, I think, just lays it out perfectly. It's this total duality. You've got the dream, escape, paradise, sweet, sweet freedom. But then you flip the coin and you've got the nightmare, isolation, a prison made of water, and absolutely no escape. And believe me, the three stories we're about to get into, they're living squarely in that nightmare. Okay, so our first story, let's talk about a guy named Leo. Leo was, well, he was burnt out. He was trying to get away from what he called a colorful past. You can read between the lines there. He just wanted to disappear for a little while. So he finds this small, super isolated cottage on a tiny little island off the coast of Maine. Perfect, right? Well, the red flags started popping up almost immediately. Right off the bat, the price was way too cheap, which is always a little weird. Then he gets inside, and the walls are paper thin. And get this, the front door had this brand new heavy-duty deadbolt and chain on it. Kind of strange for a place that's supposed to be so quiet and safe, right? Then, later, he's out for a walk, and he sees this lone, blue motorboat at a dock nearby, totally out of place next to all the local fishing boats. Just another weird detail. So that night, something wakes Leo up from a dead sleep. He's not sure what it was at first. He just lies there in the pitch black, and then he hears it. A slow, deliberate, crunching sound on the gravel right outside his door. Footsteps. And whoever it was, they were taking their sweet time. A long, heavy pause between each step. Leo barely even moves in the bed, just shifts his weight a tiny bit, and the footsteps instantly stop. Dead silence. And the silence is just thick. You know that feeling? It goes on for so long that he starts to second guess himself. Maybe he just imagined it? Or, it was just an animal. But then they start again. And this time, there is absolutely no mistaking it. The footsteps come right up to his door. And stop. He hears the doorknob jiggle. A little pause. And then, bam, bam, bam. These hard, heavy bangs on the door, so loud he's flinching with every single hit. Then, the banging stops. Everything goes quiet again. And through the silence, from the other side of that door, a man's voice, a voice he doesn't recognize, cuts through the air. "I know you're in there, Leo." And just like that, Leo's world just shatters. This wasn't some random thing. His past hadn't just followed him. It had hunted him down to this exact spot. And a few seconds later, he hears it. The unmistakable sound of a small outboard motor starting up, just like that blue boat he saw, as it putters away into the darkness. All right, story number 2. This one takes us halfway across the world to one of the most famous and forbidden islands on the planet. We're following a structural engineer who's on a research trip to a place called Hashima Island, right off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan. So to really get this story, you need to know what Hashima Island is. They call it Battleship Island, and for good reason. This place was once a booming undersea coal mine, and at its peak, it was one of the most densely populated spots on Earth. Think about that. But then, in the 1970s, the coal ran out, and everyone just left, practically overnight. Today, it's just this crumbling concrete ghost city, and going inside any of the buildings, yeah, that's strictly forbidden. Okay, so our engineer, he gets special permission to go inside and explore, and in one of these old apartment buildings, he starts noticing things that just don't add up. First, there's a clear path worn through decades of dust on the floor. Then he touches a wall in one of the rooms, and it's warm, like inexplicably warm. And there's this weird, unnatural smell he just can't place. So he mentions all this to his guide, a guy named Tishi, and Tishi just shuts him down immediately. "Impossible," he says, just totally dismissive. A little later, in a totally different building, he finds it, the smoking gun. Tucked away in a corner, there's a pile of blankets and a bunch of empty water bottles. Undeniable proof that someone is living here. So he turns around, all triumphant, ready to show his guide to say, "See, I told you so." But Tishi's gone, vanished. He's completely alone, stories up, in the middle of this crumbling concrete labyrinth. And yeah, pure panic sets in. He bolts for the stairwell they used to come up, but now it's blocked by a fresh pile of rubble that definitely wasn't there before. As he's desperately trying to find another way down, he hears it. Footsteps. And not just one person. Multiple sets of footsteps, chasing him through the halls. He finally finds another way out, scrambles down the stairs, and just makes a mad dash across the open ground back towards the dock. And this might be the creepiest part of the whole story. He gets to the dock, and there's Tishi, just standing there by the boat, like nothing happened. The engineer is screaming at him, "There are people in there, you left me." And Tishi's reaction? Nothing. He barely even blinks. It's like he's not even hearing him. To make it even weirder, when the engineer gets back to the States, he tries to get in touch with the professor who set the whole trip up, and the guy has basically vanished, totally disappeared. It just screams cover-up. Okay, for our last story, we're heading to an island that's hiding in plain sight, right in the heart of New York City. The narrator and his two buddies, Jansen and Jesse, decide to do something, well, definitely illegal. They kayak over to the abandoned North Brother Island in the East River. This place used to be a quarantine hospital, and it's just been rotting away for decades. So they get inside one of these huge, pitch-black hospital buildings, and of course, what did they do? They split up. A classic move. The narrator wanders off by himself, going deeper and deeper into these dark, creepy hallways, supposedly taking notes for a college paper. So he's walking down this long hallway, all by himself, and out of the darkness up ahead, a voice calls his name. It makes him jump, obviously, but he recognizes the voice immediately. It's his friend, Jesse. No doubt about it. He's a little confused, right? Like, how did Jesse get all the way up there so fast? So he calls out, and almost right away, he gets a reply. But it's from a dark doorway, much closer to him. And this time, the voice is a perfect imitation of his other friend, Jansen. Just 2 words. In here. Now he's thinking his friends are just messing with him, playing some kind of prank, so he steps into the room, shines his flashlight, and it's not his friends. Not even close. Standing in the corner is this terrifyingly tall figure. He just turns and runs, screaming his head off, and finds his actual friends right back where he left them. And they swear up and down they were together the entire time. They never called his name, not once. Okay, so let's recap. 3 islands, 3 totally different flavors of horror, right? You've got one that's super personal, one that's all about a hidden conspiracy, and one that just defies any kind of rational explanation. So what's the common thread here? What connects all of them? The island itself is the key, obviously, but it's not just about being trapped. It's about how that isolation cranks up the volume on the specific kind of fear. So let's break it down. For Leo and Maine, the threat was human, a stalker. The fear was deeply personal, the terrifying idea that you can never, ever escape your past. That island just became the cage that proved him right. Then you've got Hashima. The threat was a conspiracy, right? The fear there is systemic. It's about stumbling onto something you were never meant to see and realizing you're not just trapped, you're disposable. And then, North Brother Island. The threat was a supernatural mimic. The fear there is existential. It's a total violation of reality itself. It's not about your past or some cover-up. It's about the very rules of the universe falling apart when there's no place to run. And all of that really leaves us with one final big question. When you're stuck on an island, totally cut off from the world, no hope of help, what's actually scarier? The evil you can understand, the one you know is hunting you, like Leo's stalker, or the evil that you can't even begin to explain,